be taking part in a program and she needed a partner. John replied that he was not sure that he was suitable for this role, and asked whether the producers of the program would be satisfied with his candidacy. The girl stated that she would take charge of the producers, and only preliminary consent was required from Batten, and the guy agreed. When the main character hung up, he saw a message from his sister, who complained that she couldn't get through to him. It turned out that her sister's award ceremony would be held on November 11th, and she asked the streamer to come and support him. The student immediately remembered that in his previous life he was killed on November 11th. He died on this very day, November 11th, on a flight back from Japan. The guy clearly understood that there were more than 2 weeks left until the date of his death, and he never responded to a message asking him to come support his sister because he turned off the phone. When the main character tried to sleep, he was tormented by thoughts about whether to fly to Japan or not. Considering that in this life Dan was attacked in exactly the same way as in the last, then this time the plane will be hijacked. He was able to fight off Dan from those thugs, but what can Batten oppose to armed terrorists? After all, the streamer is no longer that unfortunate, desperate fatty who had nothing to lose. Now he draws his manga, does voice acting, and everything he has dreamed of since childhood. Besides, the guy is doing well in his personal life. He didn't know if he would dare to risk it all. But if a student chickens out and doesn't fly, will he deserve the system and everything he has achieved thanks to it? Suddenly, terrorists burst into the plane and order everyone to put their heads down and not move. The man sitting next to Batten is very worried and only says that they will all die. Suddenly, the main character decides to put on his favorite invisibility cap and confront the terrorists. He gets up from his seat and tries to take the weapon from the purple-haired terrorist. His blonde partner absolutely does not understand what is happening and why something did not go according to plan. But this terrorist with purple hair turned out to be difficult and hit Batten right in the jaw with his elbow. From such a blow, the invisibility cap flew off his head, betraying the student's self-willed heroism. It all ended with the successful and tough Batten being shot point blank by all the terrorists. Remembering all the people who were in his life, the guy woke up in a cold sweat and screamed that this would not happen. Looking at his watch, he was finally convinced that it was just a nightmare. The streamer attacked the terrorist, but he hit him and the invisibility cap flew off, and then he was shot like a dog. Perhaps it was a prophetic dream, and the system shows him one of the scenarios for the development of events. While thinking, the guy came up with the idea to inform the police about everything that was coming in advance. But nothing has happened yet, and no one will believe him only if they manage to get some evidence. To freshen up and put things into perspective, the student decided to go jogging at the stadium. While jogging, he met Kathleen, who was concerned about his poor appearance. She stopped the guy and asked what was wrong with him, because his complexion was somehow unhealthy. The girl noted that if he is sick, then he should hold off on jogging for now and not torture himself. Kathleen said she'd better take Batten aside so he could rest. Suddenly, he asked that if it turns out that he's actually a coward who is shaking over his own life, then will the girl leave him? She was confused by this behavior of the main character, and she asked why he suddenly asks such strange questions. And, without waiting for an answer, she hugged Batten from behind, saying that when he was scared, he would remember that Kathleen was nearby. In general, for this girl with pink hair, the streamer is the bravest in the world. When the student asked whether this was true, she answered positively and asked to tell him what happened to him. He replied that today he had a nightmare where terrorists hijacked a plane, and he became a hero and died because of it. After this, everyone who was dear to the main character and everything he loved turned to ashes. And after waking up, the guy felt nothing but fear. He felt disgusted with himself. If out of fear of death, Batten preferred to pass by and bury his head in sand, then Kathleen would in no way despise him. After all, she loves this man and is convinced that he can overcome any fear. She also added that there is nothing shameful in fear, especially when death is threatened. For a second, the student wondered whether he could resist terrorists with weapons. Be that as it may, there is no need to attach such serious importance to the nightmare, because it is better to go have breakfast with Kathleen. Sitting in class, Batten was also not himself. He even stood out from the main crowd. Noodles noted this condition and asked if his best friend was sick. The main character did not go into details and replied that he simply did not get enough sleep today. Then a friend recommended that he go get some sleep because lately he has been trying to be on time everywhere and is not taking care of himself at all. Hearing that Batten said thank you, Noodles realized that everything was very serious. Leaving the audience, he saw a bunch of messages from his sister who asked to answer them. The student just wanted to write that he would not come. Then he came up with something to do. But before sending the message, he received another notification. Carolyn reported to him that the producers had agreed to his participation. Filming will take place next week. And before that time, the streamer must familiarize itself with all the materials that she will send. The next message she sent was an excerpt from the script for Between Life and Death. There, an unknown person was carrying a girl somewhere, which a young couple noticed. Then that guy with green hair saw that this corpse was someone's daughter. He told his girlfriend that the girl had died a terrible death, and the police needed to be called urgently. and since the police may not be in time, they must not lose sight of the suspect. Suddenly, he saw that a knife was being stuck into his back while he was trying to save the girl. The girl with pink hair asked what he saw, and the guy replied that if he went to save her, he would die himself. This was because he has the gift of divination, so there must be a curse. He asked his girlfriend to forgive him for not being able to keep his promise and marry her. If a guy buries his head in the sand and walks by, he'll have nightmares for the rest of his life. Batten immediately remembered that when one of the terrorists was about to shoot his neighbor, he intervened and died, after which no one died. But if this time the main character is not on the flight, then perhaps this man will die. And without his intervention, absolutely all the passengers on that flight could die. After today's nightmare, the student thought only about his fears, but did not even think about the worst-case scenarios. He understood that it was impossible to risk the lives of many people because of the risk of the death of one, even the main character. After this thought, he typed a message to his sister saying that he would come to the awards ceremony. The next day, the streamer called a taxi and went to the martial arts center. Once he has come face to face with his fear, it would be wise to approach this meeting in full combat readiness. 10 minutes later, he was already in the center and told the girl at the registration that he came here for the first time. Batten wanted to develop combat skills in the shortest possible time, and according to the blonde, he came to the right place. Suddenly, she recognized the main character as the same guy from TikTok and asked if it was really him. The girl took him to the hall for honored guests and said that she would send the head coach to him. A couple of minutes later, the senior coach came in and introduced himself as Mike. The guys greeted each other, and the coach invited the guest to sit down. Next, he asked what the guy expects from training, whether he prefers to train in a group or individually. The answer about personal training was not long in coming, because the guy wants to master a set of the most practical self-defense techniques. Mike stated that he would be taught self-defense, but martial arts cannot be learned quickly because you need to understand the basics first. After all, without fundamental skills, you can only end up with an ear of clay on legs of clay. The interlocutor thanked the coach and once again reminded him that he had very little time. And when asked why he has little time, the streamer replied that he studies and works at the same time. Batten wants the best trainer to create an express course for him at triple the rate. When the student offered to pay the quadruple rate, the coach replied that it was not a matter of money at all. Then he suggested that the client check his health to see how he could be helped, to which the guy immediately agreed. After passing the test, Mike thought that something had happened to the equipment, because his strength did not correlate in any way with muscle mass. Seeing that the coach froze while reading the results, the main character decided to ask what happened to his body. Suddenly, other trainers appeared on the horizon who, through rumors, learned that one of the clients was ready to pay a triple rate. They immediately began advertising their martial arts to lure Batten. Mike didn't like this behavior, and he rolled up his sleeves and headed towards them. Without hesitation, he grabbed the first trainer by the clothes and easily threw him into the bend. Having scattered a couple of these guys, he asked if they had lost any clients since they came here. The Muay Thai coach replied that they had everything and apologized to the senior coach. At this time, the student mentally noted that there was a serious struggle for clients in this center. Mike said he impressed the trainers with just a few moves from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and asked if it would work for his client. The young guy replied that everything suited him and ran to pay for the lesson. When they changed clothes, the trainer offered him a course of 8 lessons of 2 hours. Then he started talking about how he was an American champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and had a black belt. Unlike other martial arts, Jiu-Jitsu does not give you a black belt just by practicing for 5 or 6 years. This belt must be added over a period of at least 10 years of winning competitions. Batten replied that he already understood how cool his coach was. He wanted to learn something today. The man with pink hair mentally noted that his client was the type who likes to rush right off the bat. The trainer called his 2 assistants with lower ranks to show them the basic techniques. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is based on techniques that can be used by anyone to successfully defeat even a more powerful opponent. This style of fighting includes various throws, chokes, and submissions that can be used to force an opponent to submit or disable him. During this time, Mike showed the most basic throws and grabs. They will not learn more complex things yet. And also everything that Batten learns here, he should not use against the weak or for illegal purposes, only for self-defense. After all the speeches, the coach finally suggested starting training with basic throws. First, he decided to study the simplest type of throw, which is done over the shoulder or in a deflection. You need to grab your opponent's clothes with one hand and grab his hand with the other. Before throwing, turn your body into a comfortable position. At the same time, the opponent will lose his balance. After turning to a comfortable position, you should find the enemy's support point. And then you should suddenly apply force and throw your opponent to the ground. But at the first training, something did not go according to plan, and the head coach was unable to abandon the new student. Mike didn't understand why this happened, because Batten weighed only about 100 kilograms, and besides, He had never had problems with opponents of such dimensions before. The assistants were talking about how the coach couldn't leave the main character because he underestimated him. The man with pink hair tried to throw it a couple more times, but the student stood rooted to the spot. To get out of the situation, he said that before you learn to throw, you need to learn to fall. The trainer advised his client to relax and feel the direction in which he was applying force and not resist. After saying that the streamer had completely relaxed, Mike tried to leave him again. But all attempts were in vain, and the main character still stood in place. This was a huge shame for Mike because if he really relaxed, then why couldn't the coach leave him? The short-haired assistant said that Mike really couldn't even move him. At this time, their coach thought about throwing someone else. He called the guys who had just talked about this over to him, which scared them. Mike said that Oliver would work with his client and Patrick would work with him. He has already explained the throwing technique, and all that remains is to show how it should look. He abandoned Patrick and asked if everything was clear to the student, if he had caught the movement. Of course, everything was clear to the guy, because not a single nuance would fly past his 4 units of observation. Batten took the fearful Oliver's hand and announced that he would now try to practice the throw. The streamer threw his opponent with such force that the vibration from the impact went throughout the entire floor. The coach saw this and recommended that I no longer throw with all my strength, but rather focus on technique. The next time, the main character took into account his mistake, and Oliver told him that things had gotten better. Before this, the partner himself stood in a comfortable position, but now he will not do so. But this did not stop the streamer, and he threw Oliver to the mats with the same success. Mike clapped his hands and noted that his student was grasping everything on the fly. Now he had to try to throw over his back with his arm over his shoulder. First, you need to grab the hand, and then simply throw the opponent over your back. Then he tried different variations of throws, such as the windmill and the arm grip throw. The guy did especially well with the neck grab throw and the leg grab throw, but the throw with both legs needed a little more work. An hour later, Oliver tearfully asked the coach